Hey guys, this is Awesome John 22 coming at you today with another mini review. Today we are taking a look at Air Raid, the final component of Superion, which came out with Wave 2, and you can see he is an F-14, much like later class Jetfire was, though much smaller and not really worth comparing. Also, there is the issue that when you extend his wings, there are these cutouts here, so you kind of have to display him with his wings in, and that really bums me out. But overall, he looks good. He's very similar to Skydive, so we're not going to be showing off the transformation for this guy at all in the mini review, which is why it's a mini review, because it's basically identical, but we will be taking a look at his other modes, his combination with Superion, and a comparison between Superion and Menasor now that Superion is complete. It does come with a foot gun, which has these little rockets on the front, as well as a double-barreled gun, which is basically just Skydive's gun, and it can peg on the top, and I guess it can technically peg on the side here as well, though I feel that looks even more cumbersome. So just in general, as with most of the weapons on most of these guys, I just don't really pay much attention to them in vehicle mode. And I mean, look, he's got some great details on him, which we've talked about recently, how jet formers have been getting some great detail on them lately. I love the stripes on his wings. I love the silver cockpit. Of course, there's clearly a robot attached to the bottom of him. But overall, he looks very nice. At this point, he looks about how we should expect him to look, given the appearance of all of the other aerial bots so far. So let's go ahead and get this guy into robot mode and take a look at him like that as well. And here we have Air Raid in his robot mode, and he, like I mentioned before, he does look a lot like Skydive. In fact, they're very similar. They have very similar detailing on their legs, and their arms are very similar, though a different shape. He does have a different head sculpt, of course, which is quite nice, actually, bringing it in close, with this cool metallic blue on top. A tiny little Autobot symbol there. Different chest details, a different color scheme, of course. All in all, a very nice figure, but his articulation and his basic design are exactly the same. However, his joints are much stiffer than Skydive's joints, which allows him to easily hold his foot gun and his regular weapon with absolutely no issue, whereas if you recall, Skydive had some pretty serious problems with such things. Therefore, he is already a step above. Here is his first combined mode, his foot mode, which looks about like Skydive's. So, just turn the foot back. So it's about what you would expect. Like I mentioned, he is very similar to Skydive in pretty much every conceivable way. He does have his gun, which you can kind of store like so to, keep from losing it in this mode. But overall, I don't feel like it looks good anywhere on this figure in this mode, and we're not going to be using this mode anyway, so let's move on. And finally, we have the mode that I'm going to be displaying him in, his hand mode, where now he's got these cool little rocket fist things, and like on Skydive, his gun does situate back here on the back of the shoulder, which just helps complete the look of symmetry that I feel like this thing really brings to Superion as a whole. And finally, here we have him as a part of Superion. You can see that he just really helps complete the look of Superion. Not only that, but his arm is perfectly capable of holding up Superion's gun, and the joint is in his hand, or the slot in his hand for the handle of the gun is actually a bit stronger than on drag strip, which allows him to hold the gun a little bit more securely, which you remember was a huge complaint I had when looking at the weapon previously. Of course, you can see Menasor kind of peeking in from the side over there, so let's bring him in and get a look at these two guys side by side. You can see they're about the same height, but Menasor is a bit taller and quite a bit beefier, as I mentioned previously, in which I really think fits. As the Decepticon, he is more battle-ready and therefore would be the larger, more intimidating-looking character. So I very much like this scale. I very much like Superion next to Menasor, and I think it really speaks to how much I'm going to like the Combiner Wars series of toys going forward. These two were kind of the two test sets And I feel like they passed with flying colors.